I didn't want to join politics, and there were enough people asking me. It's only when I saw Mr. Narendra Modi talk about Mahatma Gandhi, who I believe, and I'm a huge Gandhian, I really felt that's something we need to address, because cleanliness is not the job of just the Dalits and parts of sections that they almost carry night soil. But it's for everybody. And there are a lot of social attitudes that come in the way. And I felt that this is a time that I want to participate. So I didn't want to be a part of electoral politics, because I've seen a very ugly side of it in Aam Aadmi Party, and I saw what happens to people. But I wanted to work with the government on something positive. So I'm right now working with public service advertising for rural women. I'm working on a project of that kind. I'm working on sanitation projects. I'm also helping people who don't have access to government to come together and do the presentations with the minister and bureaucrats, so that their voices are heard. So I do that kind of a role. Of course, I do it quietly. And it's just not about talking on television, but sometimes it's good. It's important to raise questions on television, and not just to justify anything wrong that your right that your party does or not do, but to speak as a citizen who cares. So I pretty much like to play that role, and I'm happy doing that. Public servants to get paid really well, so there is less incentive to make money. But yes, you're right. It's essentially become a profession and not a mission. So that has to change, because politics is different from other things, you see. When I was a journalist, I got a certain amount of money, and it was a decent amount of money. And I would be a commentator of sorts, and I was an anchor, and I had my own show. So that was that. But I think when you go into politics, if you do it primarily only to earn money, how can you make laws that govern the country? How can you work towards equity? Because I think bureaucrats, journalists, all of them are responsible for the way the nation is governed. But primarily it's a responsibility of the parliamentarians, of legislature and executive and judiciary to provide a better life to fellow citizens. So when those very crucial areas become tainted by the lust for money, greed for money, so it becomes very difficult. I think there is a difference between running a business and running a ministry. It can't be equated. I'm not saying that they should live impoverished lives, but I think instead of politics being a professional, politics has to be professionalized. And many more professionals have to get into politics, who don't use politics only as a way to make money, but to contribute and share the experiences in the private world, in the corporate world, in the NGO world, in the journalistic world, for the betterment of people. And yes, and you need to sustain yourself. You need a decent amount of money. So you should get a perfect salary, and this is what happens all over the world. But only to think and seek a political role just to make more money, to be a broker, is problematic for me.